Welcome to the Angel of Thy Night radio show, and I am your host, Lord Rick. And today's episode and show is going to be about the Western New York Catacombs, a place of darkness, mystery, death, and history. First off and foremost, I would like to at least give a kudos to all the members and investigators who helped me along with the Western New York Catacombs expedition. You guys obviously did a very good job helping me out. The donations that we put towards equipment, my flights out there. What makes this investigation so special is the fact that we used to be based out in Western New York. We did a lot of investigations. We did a lot of work with asylums, abandoned places, cemeteries. We were pretty successful. We didn't have a lot of investigators, and after I ended up moving, I had about 100 people write me, and they're like, if you ever come up here, keep me in mind. So I wanted to plan a trip that would be worthwhile, something where a group of us could go up into a cave, camp out, measure for ghosts, take photos, listen for sounds. Something fun. We could all have a group dinner. Maybe after the catacombs, spend the next day visiting some places. I never got around to doing that our first expedition because I spent 2 days working with the catacombs, being inside them, exploring the woods that surround the area, because even the woods have history as well. But what made this expedition really special is the fact that, now we're based in Florida, and 2 times within about a 30-day period, I flew up to Western New York. What this would allow me to do is meet people, members of our list from Western New York, people who are fans, allow me to get together, maybe share a few places with them, take them to a few places, kind of make it a whole weekend affair. Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned, and when I got to New York, I really didn't have nobody to help me on the expedition. A lot of people, a lot of members who've been members a long time, they had sent multiple donations, which was enough to basically cover the airfare. I was able to purchase new equipment, special gear made for spelunking, special survival gear, because we'd have to endure a lot of different things. Cold temperatures, dampness, possible drop-offs, and all the other dangers that come with cave exploring. I've always liked caverns and caves. I've always had a fascination with them, especially after reading stories about how, some people have gone into caves and found secret chambers and have seen things and have experienced what we call the Howl Earth, or the underworld. One guy wandered into a cave up in New York City, said he got so far and deep down in the earth that he's seen UFOs, he's seen aliens, he's seen these creatures living in the cave. I do believe these type of things happen. And journeying to the center of the earth or underneath the earth, it is like an alien world. It's peaceful. You don't hear cars, you don't see stars, you don't see the sun, you don't see the moon. You're in a cave. There's nowhere to go. If something's in there, it's in there with you. Our first expedition, we had Kit, we had a good friend of his, and I had Jason, which is my lead investigator, and myself. And we journeyed into this place, and we took it one step at a time. I had to come out there twice because I wanted to visit the area 2 to 3 times. I wanted to really appreciate it. I didn't want to just go in for 10 minutes and say, hey, I've been there. I wanted to explore the place thoroughly. I wanted to do my job as a paranormal investigator. The expedition took up more time than usual. We didn't have a solid vehicle, so, we couldn't do a lot of the places I had in mind. I have a lot of places up in Buffalo and Western New York. If I was still there, I would still be exploring them and sharing them with others. But since my trip was only at 2 separate times during the weekend, I had to kind of make the most of what I had do. So, I allowed people to come on this special investigation and get involved. There was a lot of controversy because I had joined a lot of message boards because a lot of the people on those message boards I personally know, or they're on my message boards. And you know, a lot of people get mad, you know, when a founder goes around asking for money. But unfortunately, the reality is about paranormal investigating and urban exploring and all those great things is that it takes money, it takes funding, it takes gas to get to the location. It takes money for a solid rental car so you don't get stuck somewhere. It takes money for flashlights, batteries, food rations for the guys, a group dinner. All those things take money. Nothing's for free. And you know, over the years with my experience with Western New Yorkers is that a lot of people say, hey, I'll show to the expedition, I'll show to the caves. The problem is that a lot of people, they don't show. You form a group dinner, they don't show up. But if I ask now for a donation and I said, hey, it's $15, $20 you're in. If they pay me $15 or $20, they're guaranteed to show. So as a founder, when I did a special expedition. It wasn't like my investigators were going place to place chipping in for gas. You know, this was a reservation because it included not only a trip to the Catacombs, which a lot of people missed out on. It was a good trip. But it also included an abandoned building. I'm not going to say what it was because it'll give it away. But nobody has been there. I'm the only one who has its location. And then there was a haunted cemetery, which was in the mix, and an island. So, you know, I kind of put together the expedition, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it. And it wasn't pretty, but we did get it done. The reason why I decided to do the Western New York Catacombs is not only to revitalize urban exploring and paranormal investigating in the area, because I felt like it was dying. You know, I was based up there. There's a lot of people I talked to. I used to talk to hundreds and hundreds of people from up in New York. And when I stopped investigating and going to places, so did the rest of everybody else. So I thought, well, there's a few other groups out there. Why not all of us get together, do this, have a group dinner, have a few beers, you know, get together, have a fish fry, have some fun. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't always as honest as they say they are. The Catacombs are not only a big trip for me, but it's a big trip for other groups. Any publicity I get, they get. Anybody who helped me with it got free promotions, advertising and mentions and everything else. So it was a group effort. And it wasn't about me or you or anybody else. It was about people coming together, becoming allies, becoming friends, and going out, doing something, seeing something. Whether you liked that you had to pay or you didn't have to pay, sorry, but like I said, you know, a reservation is something that's guaranteed when you pay for it. And of course, as long as that donation funding is being put towards equipment, a good cause, whatever the case is, I'm all for it. A few people I didn't take donations from because they offered me other services in return. So it's, you know, it's not about money. But this trip was a little bit different because this trip involved a lot more history. It was a place that I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. See, about 10 years ago, well, actually it was about 4 years ago I learned about this place. But I had a friend about 10 to 15 years ago who went in them with a fairly large group of people. And he told me, you know, the place is collapsing. It's dangerous. I got lost. He spent over 24 hours in there hiking and getting lost. He told me he must have hiked for miles and there was just no end to this place. And eventually what happened was that they sent a rescue team in to go get him and his men. So, you know, he was somewhat of an adventurous too and an explorer. And unfortunately, he didn't get the job done. And I wanted to go in there and I want to say, hey, I'm going to do this. We're going to conquer this place. We're going to see things. We're going to get a bunch of like-minded people together and we're going to go do it. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of the donations and funding we got were from, you know, people I've known from years. personal friend handed me the money and said, here, go do it. Not a lot of members, not a lot of other groups offer their assistance with me, and that's fine. You know, if you don't donate, you don't donate. But, you know, despite all the places that I take people for free all the time and have for years, you know, there is special involvement that goes on when the founder of the Paranormal and Ghost Society decides to travel 1,000 miles. You know, there has to be some guarantees. There has to be special equipment for special trips. I mean, we're paranormal investigators. We don't carry spelunking gear with us. It's very expensive, but it is needed for safety purposes. So the expedition involved a lot of different aspects, a lot of different variables. You know, what if we fall down a pit? Do we bring rope? What if it collapses and we're trapped in there for days? Do we need rations? Do we need water purification tablets? What do we need? So I had to put together a trip where the guys would be safe and anybody going would be safe, but at the same time, we were prepared for whatever came across our way. Some people have told me it goes 50 miles. Other people told me where it comes out on. I've had 2 different people tell me it comes out in 2 different areas. Another person told me they put a cage over it, and that was up near, that wasn't even in western New York, that was another county, more towards central New York that it came out near. So we really don't know the depth, we don't know how long it goes, we don't know what area has been sealed off, but, you know, our first expedition was getting to know that area a little bit, and that's what we basically, you know, did. We hiked, and we hiked. And at the end of the night, we finished it off despite, you know, I fell in the river. I went down the river. All my equipment got wet. I could have quit. It was cold. It was 42 degrees out, and I fell in the river. And my guys were tired. You know, I ended up having a knee injury. It was pretty bad. Ended up having a bad sprain, fell on some rocks. There's a lot of hiking we did that night. And we found the secret entrance, and we went into them. And, you know, this was the secret entrance my friend told me about. It goes on for miles. He went inside. Sadly, we had to drop down, and we had to hike on deeper in there. First room we got, you know, it had some water. We seen some spiders, some webs, you know, some paint on the walls, different things like that. Came across another chamber. Water was very deep. We tested it with a branch over my head. Probably have to swim across. Wasn't going to do it. Not with the equipment being as wet as it was, and just, you know, it was just a very difficult trip. We found bones. You know, it's just a lot of different things. There's mud in there blocking one of the entrances. In another case, when we were hiking through, we had to crawl, because that's, you know, that's what spelunking involves. Sometimes you got to crawl. We had thousands and thousands of collapsing rock inches from our face. It was collapsing. We had to squeeze through the hole. Came out into another chamber, and it was all collapsed. And we probably could have, you know, it would have probably taken us a week or 2 of visiting, but we probably could have made a hole. There was a small hole in one of the walls, and I probably could have spent a couple days chiseling it and making it bigger for us to fit through, but we just had no time to work with. But we did get to the end of one of the tunnels. It was collapsed. There are signs that it does go on for probably miles. You know, we peeked our head through the hole. That's how big it was. It was all collapsed. And Kit, he's not that big of a guy, so he almost squeezed through it. But we would need more tools, of course, to excavate and dig and get a little bit deeper in the area. But yeah, we went into about 3 rooms at night of the cavern. And it was interesting. It was obvious that it was not man-made. And, you know, there has been stories, I mean, from the 1800s about, you know, if you look it up and you study a little bit of history at the libraries and historical societies, you'll find that Native Americans did use these caverns. Maybe to store meat, maybe to hide from winter storms. I don't know. I wasn't alive during that period. I know that many years ago that they would be used as catacombs. A lot of times what a lot of the Native American people would do is they would salt or let the bodies dry out, and then they would mummify them, or well, that's at least what they do in Florida, one of the tribes. That they end up putting the Native American chiefs or the villagers on this wood slab, and they basically let the body turn into leather, and then they bury it in the mound after they wrap it multiple times. So it's very possible that, the dead were brought in the cave for preservation until they were either burned or buried or whatever the case is. I know for a fact that my friend spent a day and a half in there, and he's an adventurous guy. He's the type that's, he lives life. I mean, if he's exploring and he dies, he'll do it because he's happy doing what he's doing. So he explored this place, and he told me, he said, dude, there's Indian paintings on the wall. You got to see this. And he told me how to get there, and he told me how to get in, and I went in. I didn't see any Indian paintings. I didn't get far enough. I had to crawl on my stomach in holes that were so small that I could have easily got stuck in. We had water pouring on our faces. There was inside a chamber filled with deep water with another tunnel going off. And you'd have to swim across just to get to it. There's just a lot of different variables involved in such an expedition. But we went in there our first time, and we did pretty good. I mean, we didn't know what we were up against. Many years ago, probably 15 years ago, 10, 15, when my friend was in there, it changed. It wasn't collapsed, but we found alone in that chamber 2 to 3 tunnels, and they were all collapsed. Possible to squeeze through. You'd have to spend a good day or two digging, and then you risk the chance that more areas could collapse, and then you're dead. Thousands of pounds of rock fall on you. And I guess that's why we keep places secret, because we don't want anybody to die. We don't want to put anybody at risk. It's just one of these things that you got to be careful who you tell locations to. Because if someone goes in there and they die, I'm responsible. I have to live with that the rest of my life. That's why we put together expeditions. Everybody pitches in, and it's done fairly. And everybody brings gear and contributes. That's what it's really about, and that's what our group's about. It's about contributing. It's about helping one another out. You help me complete the expedition, I'll make sure I give you an adventure of a lifetime. And our first night doing the Catacombs, Kit said to me, that is the best adventure I've ever had in New York, or since I've been down here. Because that's what it's about. It's not just about looking for ghosts. It's about seeing things, doing things, experiencing and living life. And you're doing it with your friends, a bunch of allies coming together to try to do something for each other. So that's what it's about. But our first night in there, it was tough. It was very miserable. I won't lie. It was, we were cold. We were soaking wet. Equipment got broken. I went down the river. I banged my knee on a rock. Kit, pretty much saved my life. I almost went over a waterfall. These type of things happen, And despite what everybody thinks or says, you can assess the situation all you want. But, when somebody comes from another state and they don't know what they're getting involved with, and they lead a team of men to safety, and they come back with pictures, that's a good investigation. That's a good exploration, any way you look at it. But anyways, we had a group dinner. Those that were fans showed. There wasn't very many, and, I'm not out for popularity. I'm not out to become famous, but I am, I want people to meet so I can touch base with them, find out about their explorations, hear their stories, share my stories, touch base, and that's what it's about. It's just about sharing, and I even offered some urban exploring groups. I said, look, you help me with this expedition, you do your donation and you make your reservation with us, I'll give you places to investigate and check out that you don't even know about. Nobody bit. Not my problem. But anyways, the history to the area varies. You know, people say it was an underground railroad. Others say it was catacombs. Some say it was, you know, the great Iroquois, you know, that used to inhabit western New York, used the caves for the bodies, for meat. I do know for a fact that mining was done, and I do know that some of the tunnels we went in were mined. Gypsum played a big part in mining in southern and western New York, as well as central New York. There's about 40 to 50 mines. Some of them are collapsed up in New York. Some of them you can still go into. They're collapsed and they're filled with water. They're dangerous. You know, why lie about it? But our first night in the catacombs, it was pretty rough. And, you know, we have, you know, with any cavern, we like to try to get all the different entrances. The same thing as when we went up to Pennsylvania. You know, I tried to explore them caves that we did go into. Where does it lead out? Where does it go? Does it drop down? Is there an area to climb out? Is there a secret chamber? You know, when you spelunk, you try to look for all different angles. You try to explore the place entirely. You don't just try to, you know, go in a place. If you got to, you know, if you got to get money, whatever the case is, you'll do it because you want to explore it. And that's how I look at it. But we spent a long time in them, you know, and working with them in the history and such. And there are a couple different entrances we found. There is at least 3 entrances, and I was just recently made aware that there is 2 more that are available. You know, I get my information from a lot of different sources. We have over 11,000 members. You know, and I talk to all different people of walks of life. We talk to paranormal investigators, urban explorers, spelunkers. We talk to adventurers. We talk to all different sorts of people. And some people are able to go to these places and submit information to me. So that way at least, you know, I can add it to the site or update it or whatever the case is. Our second night, we went back. We went to look for entrance number 2. We didn't find it. What we did find is a hole that was filled in. We think it was filled in because, you know, places like these in New York and Pennsylvania and such, when they get advertised on websites and with locations and maps and everything else, these type of locations, they get filled in. Because then, you know, every weekend somebody goes up there, they get lost, they get drunk, they do drugs, they die, it collapses, the parents call the cops, the firemen go. So that one entrance we found was filled in. There was a bunch of rocks and dirt. There was no way we were getting in. But I did capture 2 separate entities on film off in the woods. Made my trip worthwhile. I mean, they're solid entities with eyes, mouth, the works, you know. And you just to get something on film like that is a paranormal investigator's dream. But it was a real dismal trip. I mean, my first night, I was supposed to be staying with a friend. He ended up going hunting, so I could not stay at his house. Very difficult because I ended up having to stay at a stranger's house, and you know, I appreciate the hospitality. It's just, you know, it was just very difficult because we only had enough donation money, enough for the equipment and to explore the catacombs. I didn't have enough donation money for a hotel room or anything fancy. I had plans to camp out for a couple days and just say, hey, no hotel rooms, no friends' houses, but that's just how it turned out. It was very hard, you know, wet and cold, had to go outside downstairs to go do my laundry, 42 degrees, soaking wet. It was a hard night for me. Second night, same thing. Out for hours in the rain. We're in the rain, you know, we're investigating these woods and this cave, and I was soaking wet. And that night I spent it homeless. I had to change outside because, see, I ended up going to my friend's house, and he was back from his trip, and he just would not let me sleep in his house worth nothing. And, you know, people laugh, they think it's funny, but I'll tell you, I know what it's like to be hard up. And that's as good of paranormal investigating as you can get, or as committed as you can get, is that you're willing to be homeless for a couple days just to be able to explore. So, You know, I had a plane to catch a few hours later, so I'm sitting outside, you know, I'm putting on dress shoes, it's cold, you know, I'm sitting there going to McDonald's with my luggage. It wasn't easy. It really wasn't. You know, I couldn't grab a shower. I had mud all over me for 2 days of hiking and stuff. It was just a really bad situation. I remember getting up in the morning, you know, sitting, sleeping up, and just changing. I had wet socks. I had to change my socks outside. And, I mean, soaking wet, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure, to be honest with you. You know, we do asylums and we do all these buildings, and you know, you go in, sometimes you walk around them 4 to 5 to 6 hours, you come home, and you got a hot meal waiting for you. Not in this case, you know, eating ho-hos, sleeping outside, it's raining, and that's not pleasurable. But we did it, and our first trip was a success. And not only did I have my life saved once, but I had it saved twice. I was climbing up a cliff. I told Jason to wait below, and I was checking it out, and I ended up climbing it. And, you know, I was starting to lose grip, and Jason pulled my hand up, or I probably would have fell to my death. You know, and it's the type of stuff we do. You know, we love the adventure. We'll climb cliffs, we'll climb waterfalls, we'll hike in caves. You can't find the truth unless you're willing to put your own life at stake. So, you know, it was a semi-dangerous trip, but it was a success. In addition to that, you know, there was a lot of hate groups that are so anti-paranormal ghost society. A group like UER.ca, you know, 4 guys, they camp out in front of the cave waiting for us, and now all they do is go on hate sites saying they didn't see us. Obviously, you didn't see me because we weren't in the same caves. We weren't even in the area, to tell you the truth. And that's what's sad. It's like people don't want to sign up for an expedition, but they're so obsessed with the idea that they got to sit there and wait outside the place, and it's not even the right place to begin with. So anyways, you know, to my fans and members, don't you think it's hilarious that 4 guys from an urban exploring group sat outside a cave and waited for us to come past them so that they could start trouble? I mean, all urban explorers know you don't intrude on someone's expedition. I mean, even paranormal investigators know that. You know, it's one thing if you run into somebody in the cemetery and they're doing the same thing you're doing, but to purposely premeditate camping out in front of a place for the sole purpose to fight or stab a person or to jump them or to cause an argument or fight or belittle them, that's kind of breaking the code of paranormal investigators and urban explorers. So, you know, it seems to me like these guys have a lot to learn, because obviously we didn't go to the same cavern. My flight was for that weekend, and I came back with photos of a cave, and yet these guys claim they were up there for 2 days. So, you know, when people go around the internet and they say Lord Ricks, he's a liar, you know, he's a fake, think again. Because if you were camping up there for 2 days and didn't see me, and then I come back and put all these pictures up, and, you know, it just makes you look pretty bad. And, you know, trying to undermine us for the hard work that we do in the field. You know, unfortunately, I don't know why people can't be normal, show up to a group dinner, have a fish fry, have a beer, play some darts, play some pool, get acquainted, do what's right. You don't hide in a cave in hopes to shake my hand. It's not going to happen. And even as a founder, you know, over the years I've realized that as a leader, I have to protect my men. You know, if my men feel threatened, we're in some building and you jump out at us, the first reaction is going to be to me is I'm going to have to subdue you. You know, and do I really want anybody to get hurt? No. So there's a right way to explore and there's a wrong way to explore. Hiding in places, jumping out at other explorers and paranormal investigators, that's forbidden. That's the first rule that people should know about this type of thing, is take it seriously. You know, you don't sit there and wait for somebody inside a place. You know, we always meet at a location, and then we go to the place. We leave together, we enter together, whatever the case is, whatever you want to call it, that's how it goes down. But anyways, a group of urban explorers from UER did such a thing. They have no trouble admitting it, because their claim is that I didn't do these things because they did not see me. Well, of course you didn't see me. I'm one of these paranormal investigators who is very quiet. I'm not loud, I'm not a clown, I don't make a lot of noise. I go into places, I respect them, I'm very peaceful. I take my pictures, I take my readings, I go. I don't sit there and I don't disrespect the Native American people. And since the territory is very Native American, you know, it's one of these things that you gotta respect it. It'll respect you back. But some people have been disrespectful, and some people go into places like this and they die. And the reason why I chose to investigate this place is simple. A lot of people have died in them. A lot of people have gotten lost. They're dark, they're dreary, nobody knows where they go. You know, there's just a lot of mysterious history. A lot of people, you know, are going on how I was in the Akron Caves, blah, blah, blah. As a founder, it's my job, and it's my reasoning that I do not have to disclose a location. I don't owe anybody an apology. I don't owe anybody an answer. It doesn't matter where the founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society went. I could have went to a cave in Africa. It's really not a concern. What is a concern is that, did he do what he was supposed to on his trip? Yes. I went out there. I photographed the caves. I took photographs of ghosts. I met fans and a couple new faces. We had a great time. I did what I was supposed to do. I put the funding towards equipment. I have proof of that equipment. You can clearly see in most of the photos, we got backpacks, we got equipment. We were ready head on for the trip. You know, I kind of laugh with the urban explorers because they sit there and, you know, they mock out our group and they're like, you went to the Akron Caves, ha ha ha, they're stupid, blah blah blah. Maybe just to play around, because I'm a guy with a big sense of humor. I believe that the key to living a long life is a little bit of laughter. So maybe I walked in those caves or made a quick stop at those caves to take photos just because I knew for a fact that these people would not stop. You know, if they want to harass an organization over and over and over, I might as well give them something to harass us about. It doesn't matter either way. I can do whatever I want for my photos. If I want to blur out pornographic content for our younger viewers, I have a right to blur that kind of content. You know, we go in a cave and I could see some satanic symbols on the wall. I may not want somebody to see those. I may blur it out. But as the founder, they're my photos. I can do what I want. They're copywritten and they're mine. As a founder, I don't have to disclose what caves. Does it make me a liar? No, it doesn't. You know, every location that we do, we keep very low down. So that way, in case we got to visit it, do a television show, it exists. And when places start to get vandalized and people start to find them out, they get demolished. Then nobody gets to enjoy them. So that's my take on the catacombs. You know, a lot of people, they complain about having to donate $15. Big deal. You know, you snooze, you lose. None of you out there are ever going to know the truth. You don't know if I did caves in southern New York, if I did caves in western New York. Maybe I did multiple caves and I combined them all together because they all were interconnected. I'm not going to tell anybody anything because I don't have to disclose that information. I'm a parapsychologist. The only information I will disclose to my fans is the evidence collected. If I choose to share history, if I choose to share what it is, that's my choice. But as a founder, I have to be responsible. We're very pro Native American. You know, we respect the Native American people. And since, such caverns are located on Indian ground, these places are very sacred, and they deserve to be honored. They don't deserve to be flown all over the internet and made a mockery out of. But like I said, I think it's so funny how some urban exploring groups laugh and say, we camped out and we didn't see you. Well, yeah, duh, we're not in the same league. We're not going to the caves that you were camping at. Assumption is the screw up of all. A lot of people assume things. They think they know it all, and it turns out that they don't. And then you end up missing out on something good. So, that's just my take on the caves. That's my take on the catacombs. If people don't like it, tough. I'm not going to lie. I've been up in the Akron caves, and I have pictures saved from years ago from them. So, I can do what I want. And if you choose to believe it, or if I'm trying to throw in a little bit of humor for everybody, I can do that. I am the founder, and nobody should question me, but there's a lot of groups out there who think I owe them an apology, and it's just ridiculous. What could I owe an apology for? I took my men in there. We had a great time. We explored it. We came out with video footage, pictures. We got to see bats. A lot of good things came out. We got a lot of hiking. My second trip was a little more involved. When I went on my second trip out there, I went pretty deep in them. I spent hours upon hours investigating. It was a rough trip because it started to snow. I hadn't been in snow for so long, so I had to get acclimated to the cold wind chill and the snow. But we got in. We hiked around. We seen a lot. Did a lot of different chambers, a lot of different rooms. Obviously, like most caves, the ceilings were starting to come down in certain areas. Some entrances or some caves were blocked off, or tunnels rather. I'm pretty sure we've seen most of it. We did not trace or track our path. I memorized every ounce of those caves in my head. It's just something I'm very good at doing, and when you do enough investigations, you become very good at measuring and tracking and all those little survival type of skills. So we didn't really have a problem getting lost. We got turned around a couple times, but we ended up going down a few different caves, and we stuck to them for a long time. One of them looked like it could go on forever, but it was kind of collapsed. Eventually we just gave up and we said, to hell with it. We started walking through water throughout the caverns. It was interesting because we got to a lot of rooms that probably others would not have gotten into. But we seen things like bones and, dead rats and bats and all the things you could possibly see in a cave. Markings, we found a few old mining artifacts. We didn't really touch nothing. We didn't take nothing. I didn't take as many photos as I wanted to take. I just, I got a few ghost photos and things. It was, much warmer inside. Even the water was kind of warm. But we made our way around the whole thing. Like I said, we went to a few separate caves, and it's kind of fun to stop and see different areas and explore as much as you can. That's what an explorer and paranormal investigator does, at least a good one. So I felt that trip was well worthwhile. We were thorough. We actually lied down in there. We took almost what I call a semi-nap. We closed our eyes, laid back. We talked for a half hour, between me and the other two investigators. But I got to commend Kit and I got to commend Rich. Kit helped me both expeditions. And Rich, he's been on the list for so long, and he came all the way down, drove all the way up, and he met me up there, and we had a nice group lunch, and then we went. We got dropped off at the location, and went up there, and we hiked around. It was great. It was great. We spent hours in there. I probably should have worn knee pads. You're supposed to when you spelunk. I had bruises on both my knees. It was tough. As soon as I got out of the catacombs, and I got out of there at night, it was dark out, it was cold, it was, in the 20s. I turned around the next morning, and here I was hiking up in Kansas, Pennsylvania. And, I did that expedition too, and, we turned out over 15 places up there. I did a couple caverns and such. So, you know, it was a non-stop investigation for me. My second trip up to New York, I spent 5 days straight hiking. And, you know, my last day there, or the day before I had to fly out, I climbed the mountain. So, you know, we did a lot of work between the Catacombs and then going down to Kansas, Pennsylvania. And our last radio show, if you remember, I did talk about the Kansas, Pennsylvania area. It still means a lot to me. I'd love to go back and do more. Seems like my fans want to see more. I go where the fans want me to. You know, if the fans and members want to see more of that content, I'll do it, as long as everybody pitches in and can actually make an expedition possible. You know, everything takes funding, everything takes grants. It's very expensive to do this type of work, and a lot of times I'll throw in half if the members will throw in half too. You know, it's just about what you can contribute. It's, you know, some people can't contribute funding, but they can contribute equipment. Others can contribute their time and their energy, or their historical knowledge. I mean, it's just all, you know, you work as a collective, you work as a team, and you get more done. And I felt our second trip, we had a nice click, we were working as a team, and we spent miles and miles of hiking, inside, underground. You know, and there was a lot of risks we took. We climbed in between crevices, we could have gotten stuck. You know, we climbed in between rocks, we found a lot of strange things. Activity, you bet there was ghost activity. We heard conversations, we had cold spots, we seen fresh candle wax, we found this one object, it was moved on our way back. I mean, a lot of different things happened. We felt watched the entire time. I heard movement inside, big movement, like something big was roaming around in there. A lot of different things, and you know, that's what happens when you're dealing with a place that has over 200 years of history to it. You know, people have died, but, you know, besides the people who've died, maybe their ghosts are wandering, maybe the Native American ghosts are wandering. I don't know, but we heard a lot of things, and there was a lot of eerie happenings, a lot of sounds. Sometimes it was too quiet in there. Other times, you know, you could hear water dripping. But that's just the type of place it was. And, you know, I would have loved to have 100 people with me so that they could have experienced this ghost activity like I experienced it. And a lot of people just didn't want to get involved, you know. At least, I don't know, 15 to 20 people say, give me their word they would go. And, you know, a lot of those people broke their word and did not go. They didn't send in their reservation fee. And, you know, in this case, any other trip, there wouldn't have been one. But I had to make sure that people actually showed for this trip, because I was not going to go in this place by myself and end up breaking a leg or breaking an ankle and never being able to get out again. And, you know, that's the one thing as a paranormal investigator you don't want to do, is you don't want to have a final resting place in the place you're investigating. So, you know, cell phone's not working. We had no contact with the outside. I did have a friend, actually, on both expeditions, friends, including a police officer, who would actually be keeping track of how long we were in there and such. And if we didn't come out, we'd have a rescue team come get us. So the expedition was planned very carefully. I mean, it took a couple months of planning, you know, a lot of historical references, talking to various people, putting it all together. And as you can see, it's up on our site, you know, and it looks good, and there's a lot of pictures. We still got video footage coming. Eventually I will add it to YouTube, so all of you can actually see me live inside there. I don't have no shame. I'm not ashamed of the investigation. What actually, as a founder, makes me ashamed is that so many people show nothing but hate towards someone trying to do a good thing, you know. And if it offends somebody because they're being asked to contribute, then we got a problem. Because paranormal investigating, urban exploring, these are hobbies, you know, to some people. Some people take them more serious. Point being, hobby, serious, equals money. Donating, contributions. And you know, some people, they buy smokes, they buy alcohol, and they spend $15 on a night of fun. But you know, $15 could have gotten you at least 4 days of exploring and investigating, and people just passed that up. They just didn't take it serious. And you know, I as a founder, I'm very proud. I back my work up 100%. And you know, I consider myself to be one of the better paranormal investigators and adventurers in the country, because when I'm willing to put my life at risk for my members, for my investigators, and for a good cause, that's what separates me. That's what makes me such a founder, is that the risk I'm willing to take. And as a founder, you know, a hard-working leader deserves a pat on the back. And you know, over the last, I don't know, 8 months or whatever it's been, I've seen a lot of hatred, all fueled from me doing some caves in New York. And you know, all because why? Because I had the balls and the tenacity to sit there and ask for a donation. Every founder's job is to have people, you know, to get people to donate and to get involved. If it makes a founder bad for doing so, then you know, some of you people need to start being your own founders, and you can see how much money and funding comes out of your pocket. And you know, a lot of people just don't realize that you do your best, and either people support you for doing your best, or they hate you for doing your best. One thing about my paranormal radio show you're going to see and you're going to find is that I'm very blunt with my viewers. I'm very honest. And in turn, that's going to get us millions and millions of fans. Because we are a very controversial paranormal group. You know, we're a little bit of everything. We go through the extreme. And we want people to be a part of it. That's all we want. We want people to learn, have a good time. We don't expect nothing. You know, if you don't got a donation to give, you don't have to get a donation. But you know, there's a lot of groups out there. I mean, you go look at UER. You know, that you got a founder there who, you know, he makes $600 to $1,000 a month. And honestly, you know, I hate to say it, but you know, there's a lot of people who have given me information and have shown me what his funding has gone for. And it's so sad to see people swindled. You know, you come on my investigation, you come on my trip, you start to see, you know, that we're very short-handed for investigators, for one. For two, the equipment we have, you get to use it, you get to see it, you get to see where our donations are going, you know, and it's straight up. You know, it's hardcore. We go through a lot of equipment a lot of times because it gets damaged, you know, falling in the river. You know, I lost, my recorder got damaged. My spotlight wasn't working. My cell phone wasn't working for 2 days because it got wet. A lot of things get damaged when you spend a long time outdoors. But, you know, I have thousands and thousands of fans. I have thousands of viewers, and I think they have a right to know that the founder of UER was hiding in a cave trying to stir up trouble for our organization. And it's very appalling. It's not right. And it's also not right that others condemn us for asking for a little bit of donations, when there are groups out there that charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars and have all these requirements. And the only requirement we have is that it's like NHL hockey. Play with heart. And that is all I ask. I ask that you put your heart into our investigations and you contribute and you do your best. That's all I want, is people to do their best. And when you sit there and you join a couple groups and you ask for other people to help you out, and they sit there and they laugh at you, you know, and then they start playing games like hiding in caves and saying, you know, the money's not going towards this and that, that's, you know, that's straight up dishonor. And there's no doubt about it who the better group is. We're always going to be the better group. You know, because when you sit there and you take that donation money and you towards travel costs, new backpacks, spotlights, spelunking gear. You see that the donation money is being used for that. But then you take a group like UER, 1,000 people donating, just so they can get higher access on the forum. That's got to be a joke. That is a joke. Because what it boils down to is you're paying for his video games, you're paying for his little upgrades at his apartment, you're putting money in his pockets. And yet, 5 years, what has he done? What has he done? Being the founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society, I've done over 700 investigations. And we still keep going. We went out the other week ago, we did a police department. Next week, we're doing 2-3 places. We're always doing something new. We're always going out. We're always going to keep going out. Ghosts, paranormal investigating, UFOs, exploring, history, all that's very important to us. And we're committed to bringing it to you. But the Catacombs, we did it. And we have a lot to be happy about. We're all safe. We got our photos that's necessary. People can post the photos, say they're fraudulent. They can take the photos and say, hey, he's been here. I don't care. What I care about is the fact that I did what I said I was going to do. I came to New York. I offered people to explore places. We were going to go to Zor Valley hiking. I had some other cave. Nobody wanted to go. Get involved. If you don't meet me, you don't know me. If you don't get involved with us, you don't know our traditions or what we're about. I've had a lot of people dislike our organization, our group, and me. Then they join us, and after a year or two, they say, this isn't so bad after all. Just like people who've never done an investigation with us. They come out and they're like, I actually had a good time. So keep an open mind. Try us out. It's not going to hurt anybody to try something new. The one thing you always get from me is straightforwardness and honesty. And I'm all about everybody networking and becoming allies. But, I cannot tolerate groups who show jealousy and hate towards our organization, who hide in places, who laugh and demean others. It's not fair to the guys who were involved helping on this trip. It's not fair to my members who donated for it. The Catacombs are a pastime. I'd love to visit them again. I'd love to do it 100 times if I could. But, there's so many new journeys awaiting us. And the past is the past, and the future is the future. And you can be part of the future. You can help us out when we go out west, and we're based out west. We're going to have 100 caves to do. We're going to have ghost towns. We're going to have Death Valley. We're going to have Mount Shasta. We're going to have it all in the palm of our hands. New worlds, new places to explore. I'm just now wrapping up Florida, and I'm ready to go out west. So, get involved with us. But as far as the hate groups, people who libel us, people like theoddempire.org, UER.ca, people like that, they're just jealous, just ignorant. And, a lot of you people who hate me don't realize it, but there's a lot of people who are on my side. I have helped thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I have given a free site for 5 straight years. The Paranormal Ghost Society is throwing parties. Beer, steak, ribs, shrimp. You name it. Hundreds of dollars of fireworks. We've done a lot for our members in the past. We've offered a lot of free service. We've given Member of the Year and gifts, and we have meetups, and we've done a lot of great things, and nobody can take that away from us. We still honor our friend who passed away, and, we do a lot of good things. And we always are true to our word. If we sit there and we say we're going to New York, we're going to go to New York, we're going to do this thing. And that's the way the Paranormal Ghost Society operates. It isn't all about me. People think it is. It's not. I want to see others happy. I want to see others explore. I want to get others involved, not just online, but offline as well. And that's my job as a leader to do. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I think I covered a lot about the catacombs and a lot of the different things that have gone on. I would love to do the Paris catacombs. People go in those things. They go for miles, they end up getting lost and never coming out because they got over 3 million bodies underground. Some of them are they just go for many miles, just stacked against the walls and on top of each other. Those are the true catacombs. But for now, the ones in New York will do. And I will see my fans and members on the flip side. I look forward to any input. Also would like to say, lastly, I don't like to bring negativity to my radio show, but I also, as a leader, I try to bring the good, the bad, the courageous, and everything all in one. And I try to put it in my shows when I put them together so that people are aware. But, I appreciate all the fans backing me up lately. We had a problem with the oddempire.org. A lot of fans have backed me up. I appreciate the input. I've had multiple people contact me and tell me that they're going to put a lawsuit on this guy for libel. So, multiple groups, multiple people, and, I appreciate it. Oh, and lastly, maybe I ought to get into this too. There was a forum on MySpace that formed. It was kind of funny because at first, I laughed it off. I said, oh, come on. I don't care what forums and groups are out there, as long as you're doing it in a respectful way. If you got to sit there and libel me or demean me to progress yourself, you're truly not a good paranormal investigator. But there's a group on MySpace, and it's called the Hot Sauce Fan Club. And you read the group, and it's just, it's not even paranormal related. And you learn to laugh because it says this group's dedicated to Hot Sauce, who is the best paranormal investigator in the world and is much better than the pathetic scam artist Lord Rick. Then this is good. Hot Sauce has been on television more times than Lord Rick, was in many more books than Lord Rick, and will do many more television series than Lord Rick in the future. Hot Sauce has studied ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, cryptozoology, demons, conspiracy, and much more. Lord Rick can study them all he wants, but Hot Sauce has already found out everything there is to know about these things. Okay, let's just dissect that for a second. My name appears 5 times in their forum, the first 2 paragraphs. Obsession? Maybe they're in love. Who knows? I've been told that because I'm a public figure now, it's quite possible that some people are just obsessed with the idea of being like me. So, obviously the group's a sham, and, I will never stop anybody from joining other groups. I feel that if you want to be part of something like that, go ahead. But sooner or later, over time, by getting to know me and getting to know our group, you'll actually see we're a pretty great group. We're pretty committed. We're going to be around for many years to come. Anyways, going back to the group, it goes on to say Hot Sauce currently resides in Maryland, but has conquered the entire world, including Florida. Well, honestly, from being based in Florida, I could tell anybody it would take more than 2 lifetimes to explore Florida. The Everglades, the swamps, the state parks, the hundreds of miles of trails that go meander through Florida and plantations, and there's over 100 ghost towns in the state alone. There's just no way anybody would have enough time to include or explore the entire state of Florida. It also goes on to say, has already brought you stories of southern haunts and places around Daytona, Orlando, Ocala, and Jacksonville. Okay, Daytona, Orlando, Ocala, Jacksonville, those are key words in our MySpace group, so we can find other paranormal investigators in the area. Oh, and they go on to add St. Augustine, which is the oldest city in the nation. Yes, that is true, but technically it's not true. See, the Native American people had the oldest cities. We came here, we invaded them. We took away all their cities. A few of those cities were in Florida long before we've ever settled by the Timucuan Indians. Then they go on and they say, in fact, he brought you all these stories back when St. Augustine was brand new already, long before that fake Lord Rick ever did. You know, libel and remarks like that, you know, it's so sad to see, because you can never call anybody a fake unless you can actually verify that they're a fake. You know, you can look at a picture and say, well, I think it's fake, but you know, with the 5 years of hard work we've put into our site and our group, I don't care what people's opinions are. If somebody sits there and they say, I think it's a fake, you're entitled to your own opinion. And that is what makes the Paranormal and Ghost Society so great. We allow everybody out there to form their own opinions. On to the next thing. It says Hot Sauce would tell you to check out his site, but he's way too accredited to have some lame-ass Caesar, including piece of crap to validate his legitimacy. Lord Rick has over 25,000 photos of ghosts, which he claims are the best in the world. But Hot Sauce has all the best ghost photos in the world. Hot Sauce does not sell paranormal equipment, posters, or sells loads of information, reports, and even some paracomedy from his adventures, because he has enough money and does not give a shit. Hot Sauce will not be offended if you do not buy logo wear such as t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merchandise which has various logos on it, because he finds that stuff effing embarrassing and really wishes you wouldn't. My comment in return: the Paranormal and Ghost Society does have over 25,000 photos. We have over 50,000 photos. We have over 70,000 photos. We have a very loaded site with a lot of information, and a very good site. And if you're a good site, you will offer things such as posters, equipment. You will offer comedy. You will offer good things to your members because you care. You know, we never force our beliefs on anybody. However, when it comes to our investigators, we do have some of the best photos in the world. That's just the truth. We back up our photography. We're very passionate about our work. There's no sin in that. But anyways, as it goes on to say, it says Hot Sauce does not have MySpace meetups because he has yet to find an establishment that's society has been having meetups for 2 years. We basically allow our members to get together, meet other explorers and investigators. It's not about ego, it's not about competition. It's about a few people getting together for a game of pool, some darts, a beer, and talking about the paranormal. Our meetups are not MySpace meetups. They are Paranormal and Ghost Society meetups. Our board on MySpace is a forum, which allows people to unite with similar interests. Next it goes on to say, this group's basically for you to post your paranormal questions, stories, and worship Hot Sauce as the world's leading paranormal investigators. Join it or don't. And then it goes on to say, if you post a paranormal question for Hot Sauce, please be patient with getting a reply. He's very busy chasing ghosts, as paranormal investigators do apparently, and does not have time for the internet. What others think. What I care about is making my members happy, doing my job, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But anyways, it goes on that the group, you know, has about 40 or 50 people who don't like the Paranormal Ghost Society. I call them the misfits because basically they're people that have been banned. They're people that have continuously made threats against me, my family. These are people that, you know, they go on to read my blogs and they stalk me everywhere I go. You know, it's like a bunch of obsessed fans that want an autograph. You know, it's like being Brad Pitt and you jump on the internet just to do a little research, and all of a sudden, you know, you get hit with a bunch of messages, and you know, I can't be anybody but be myself. And I strive to be the best paranormal investigator. I strive to provide the best site. I'm very thorough in my work. Our groups are very friendly. You can say what you want, you can post what you want, as long as it's respectful. And as long as you're able to post your own theories, that's fine. We'll respect your opinion. But in my group, there's warmth, there's love, there's heart, there's honesty, there's a lot of different variables. We don't go around bashing other people to get personal gain. We work hard at what we do, whether it's rain, shine, moonlight, snow, whatever the case is, but we go out there and we bring you the story. Then if you go on and you read, the post, which half of them can't even spell right to begin with. If you're going to run a paranormal organization or you're going to start your own group and you want to talk about people, make sure you got your facts straight. But, it goes on about how I'm going to curse them and how they're better than me and the color of my hair and how they're going on about who I date and blah, 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 blah. It's so dramatic, It's like watching Days of Our Lives or Children's Hospital. Because, that's basically what it is. It's a group of people that just do not like the fact that the Paranormal Ghost Society exists. We exist because we can. It doesn't matter whether my site's private, whether I have a forum, or whatever I have. The fact is that I enjoy exploring, I enjoy working with ghosts, enjoy making new friends. But, when I sit there and I look at this group and I think to myself, I start looking at the list of people that are doing the talking, and these are people that were banned for spamming. They were banned from the group. These are people that, for example, we got this girl Kiss Groupie, single mother in her 30s, hanging out with 12, 13, and 14 years old on a group, making fun of a founder with kids who works hard, who's been running my groups for many years now, who's very well known in the paranormal community. And we have Adam. Adam was recruited for the Pine Barrens investigation. Okay, of course, the thing is that even with explorers and investigators, there are rules that you gotta follow. And, we get there, the guy's got no maps, no equipment. We're going in the Pine Barrens camping, and all he's got is the clothes on his back. And, when you're a paranormal investigator, the last thing you want to hear when you're in a cemetery is someone's cell phone going off. This guy spent the entire trip on the cell phone. Who spends an entire trip on the cell phone talking in a cemetery? You're out hiking in the wilderness. You're on Pyramid Mountain, Tripod Rock, and he's on his cell phone. Then I'm investigating a ghost town. He's up on the top of the tower smoking marijuana, complaining how his feet hurt. Big deal. You signed up to investigate. Deal with it. How's that? But, this is a guy that was babysat by his girlfriend, calling him up every half hour to check on him, and his mother. And, this guy's going around libeling our organization simply because we banned him. And, I just think that's classic. I think that, a lot of men online are nothing but a bunch of crybabies and wussies. The real men that are going out there doing this, and they're not the ones complaining. But that's just the whole thing. The guy goes around bad-mouthing our organization, but he's the one that wasn't prepared. He didn't pay for the truck rental. He didn't pay for any equipment. He wasn't even prepared, period, for the expedition. And unfortunately, we were going to do Greystone Asylum, and he got very scared. And he backed out after it was already pre-planned. And, somebody who cannot follow protocols and rules deserves to be banned from the PGS organization. And that's the truth. That's the story. I'm sticking with it. It's on the site. It's been discussed. It's done. It's over with. Get over it. Then you gotta love this one. We got this guy, the Odd Emperor. Right now the guy's in a heap of crap. He's got a bunch of people want to put lawsuits on him for libel. And now apparently he's trying to add a lawsuit because I'm having my attorney look at all the evidence that he's put out there, and it doesn't look good for his part. Because I'm not going to have people talk about me falsely. Say your opinion, say what you want, but make sure if you say it, it's the truth. Don't go on the internet. Don't create fake groups and tell lies. I mean, it's a cheap blow. It makes you look bad. It makes you look jealous. It makes you look very miserable. And I'm not going to get into talking about the rest of the members, but I do at least want, as a founder, to just let everybody know that this is the type of groups that form. And people have a choice when they get involved with this. They can choose to, get along, respect other people's beliefs, and, make friends and get involved. And that's all it boils down to. And when I sit down and I look at people slandering or libeling the PGS organization, creating message boards all about me, going on hate sites and stealing my kids' photos and stalking me, that tells me a lot about your character as a person. And I'll be honest with you, you'll catch more flies with you do honey than you do vinegar. And when I see a bunch of people sitting here libeling us, I could turn around and I could choose each of you, and I could pick you apart if I wanted, because I look, I see Adam, he was removed from our team. That's why he's mad and bashing us, because he has no sense of discipline or authority. I could sit there and this other girl, she's sitting there hanging out with underage kids. That makes her a pedophile. And, I could go on, but as a spiritualist, I can tell you right now, as a very loving man, people who have hate do not deserve my attention. But I will tell you what, make no mistake about it. When I do take an active interest in you, you're going to know it. And that's all I'm going to say. And that's not a threat, that's a promise. So I'll give you something to talk about, believe me. But the Paranormal Ghost Society is not going to quit. We're not going to stop doing the work that we're doing. We're working very hard at bringing other paranormal investigators and explorers together so that they can explore, form friendships, have a good time. I'm not going to stop the goals that I want to attain. I'm not going to stop working with Bigfoot and ghost and ufology and cryptozoology. I'm going to continue my work. I'm right on track where I'm supposed to be. The site's doing very well. We're getting millions of hits now per year. I got a TV show I'm going to be filming very soon. Got a lot of good things happening, and there's not going to be a single soul out there who's going to ruin that for me. So you can go on your boards and you can bash me and you can talk about me. But see, the Paranormal Ghost Society is the better organization. And do you know why we're the better organization? Because, see, unlike most groups, we actually care about our members. I would do anything to help anybody, as long as they are open-minded and they can be respectful. And that's all it's really about. But as far as other groups go, what goes around comes around. And you'll get your karma, because very little do some of you know that a couple of your members are already being sued. They just haven't said nothing about it. I'm not doing the suing, because what I'm finding out is that some people from these hate groups have wronged other organizations like my own, and those organizations are asking for my help to testify. I might just do it, because of what I feel is that I feel that nobody should have the right to go around falsely accusing and speaking about somebody, especially behind their back, or doing it publicly in hopes that you're going to ruin their reputation. And, with those type of things, you have to take consequences for your actions. And, some of you apparently out there, you want to hate us, but you better be responsible upon doing it. As far as my fans and members go, I love you. I hope that you back me up 100% with anything that I do. And I hope that, I was able to at least address some of the issues. Because part of this hatred that had formed was due to the Catacombs trip. All because people got upset because I asked for a donation to help out with the expedition. And that's all it really boils down to. So, with that in mind, I'll see you on the flip side. I got another new show planned shortly in the future. I hope you're enjoying these shows. All my fans, feel free to contact me at any time. If you need help, I'll always be there. And again, I will see you. Have a great weekend. Your host, Lord Rick.